Good evening, everyone. I'm Laura Ingraham. This is the Ingraham Angle from Washington tonight. As always, thank you for joining us. And at this hour, President Biden is in New Orleans. He's headed to a prayer service for the 14 victims of that horrific terror attack as we get the disturbing new details about how this all happened. But first, new year, new wins. That's the focus of tonight's angle. All right, I hope you all had a blessed Christmas and a happy new year. Our family, and I hope yours, felt like we all had a lot to celebrate and be grateful for. But I hope you also got some rest, too, because after the last 4 years, hey, we all needed it, even Zoe. But now we're done with being on the defensive and we're all ready to get to work. Right now, tonight, America is in the strongest position that we've been in decades to be able to restore the country and return power back to the people where it always belonged. The election was certified today, and Kamala had to preside.
The votes for President of the United States are as follows. Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida has received 312 votes. Kamala D. Harris of the state of California has received 226 votes.
It was a sight to behold. Now, Democrats spent over $1 billion. They threw everything they could at Trump, tried to put him in jail, yet the result is Republicans control every branch of government and have a historic opportunity to govern. Now, of course, we're all going to have our disagreements, but no one, and I mean no one, should forget that without Donald Trump, there would be no GOP majority, so his nominees and his proposals deserve some serious deference. Now, that having been said, it's our job here on The Angle to hold everyone accountable, and rest assured, that's what The Angle will do in the coming year. Trump supporters expect policies that benefit American workers. He did it the first term, he can do it again, and that does not include an explosion of foreign labor in the United States just to keep costs low for big tech. But I'm very optimistic that these issues, all of them, will be worked out. Trump's experience from his first term is hard-won, and he's now mission-focused. Peace and prosperity, that's what Americans voted for in November, and this is what he needs to deliver. He knows this. This agenda is serious, and it's going to require bold and decisive action by him and his team. So first, of course, the economy. Inflation's still too high. Regulations have to be slashed. Taxes need cutting. And on tariffs, Wall Street doesn't like them, but they're coming to terms with the fact that those tariffs are going to be needed. If imposed as advertised, Trump's tariffs could deal a hefty blow to China. Xi Jinping would have no easy remedies. I was shocked to read that. Yeah. And second, on energy, Trump will take immediate action to unleash America's vast energy reserves. This despite a pitiful move by Joe Biden today, announcing that he's expanding territory that's off limits to offshore drilling. Thanks. Trump's just going to undo that on day one. Third, on immigration, Trump can't move fast enough to deport the millions who've gamed our system, including the monsters who Joe Biden's policies allowed in, like Nicholas Jose Francisco, just charged with sexual battery. I want to see his photo. Against a 5-year-old girl in Palm Beach County, Florida. Yeah. Fourth, Trump's ready to reform our woke military. The Pentagon has an almost $900 billion budget, and yet America hasn't won a war outright since World War II. That's despite our brave troops. So it's time to ditch transmania and social justice experiments at the Pentagon and all the fantasies about how that's going to make us a stronger fighting force. That didn't work. Fifth, Trump needs to end the Ukraine war, and he has vowed to do this. By the way, Zelensky's asking for more money later this week, even as Biden's been shoveling billions out the door as fast as possible to Ukraine. I think it's worth remembering that we don't even know how many troops on both sides have died. But we do know it's in the hundreds of thousands. It's a bloodbath. And hundreds of billions of U.S. taxpayer dollars later, well, we've helped prolong the killing fields. 6, the China threat. We've just begun to learn how the CCP has penetrated our most sensitive communications and, by the way, our infrastructure. It's extremely disturbing. The Wall Street Journal did a phenomenal report on this over the weekend. Again, this is despite the billions that we've spent over the years on the deep state. So what's China planning? Well, we're going to dig into that later in the show. Meanwhile, there is really zero sense, from what I can tell, that at least Democrats in elected office have a clue about how to fix their own mess. They're still lying about the Biden cover-up.
Leader Schumer, what do you say to Americans who feel as though you and other top Democrats misled them about President Biden's mental acuity?
No. Look, we didn't. And let's look at President Biden. He's had an amazing record. The legislation we passed, one of the most significant groups of legislation since Lyndon Johnson's Great Society, putting in 235 judges, a record, and he's a patriot. He's a great guy.
Yeah, the headline there is they're still lying. Okay, they lied about Biden. They're still lying about their record. They lied about Trump. They lied about January 6th and the government informants that were present. They're still doing it. That's not learning. Democrats know, they know this, that the only person to be killed on January 6th was Ashley Babbitt. And they want to memory hole her, but we will not let them. And of course, yeah, they continue to lie about Donald Trump.
Do you still believe he's a threat to democracy?
I think what he did was a genuine threat to democracy. I'm hopeful that we're beyond that.
Yeah, so he wins, so no longer is he a threat to democracy. It was always a lie. And he's a sad, contemptible man. Look, we can't ever let their big lies fly again. And there should be accountability, from COVID to Afghanistan to the Secret Service bungles. The list goes on and on. It's time to set the record straight, to restore credibility to our government. It's critical that we do this. And Trump can do it if his own party doesn't get in the way and if he remembers the lessons from the first go-round. But for now, at least, the big names of big government, the Obamas, the Clintons, the Cheneys, the Bushes, Biden, Harris, they've all been defeated, courtesy of Donald Trump. Well, their policies, we know, were abject failures. And ditto for pretty boy Trudeau in Canada. He's now gone too. That was a little added bonus. So growing the MAGA ranks is going to require that Trump chalk up early successes. And as they say, look, winning is hard, but governing is harder. But with Democrats demoralized and Republicans determined, the best truly can be yet to come.
So as you see, I'm back from assignment, and I'm not really allowed to tell you where I was. And if any of you ever find out, don't tell anyone, because I'll get in trouble. So let's go to D.C., where a big fight erupted today before Congress certified the election. Pretty much the same thing as January 6th 4 years ago. Just some minor differences. This just moments before Congress certified Trump's victory. CNN says today marks the most stunning comeback in U.S. political history. And of all people, Kamala Harris was the one who made it official.
President of the United States are as follows. Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida has received 312 votes. Kamala D. Harris Kamala D. Harris of the state of California has received 226 votes.
She's the first woman to certify her own loss and the first person to certify a U.S. election for Hitler.
Well, today was obviously a very important day, and it was about what should be the norm and what the American people should be able to take for granted, which is that one of the most important pillars of our democracy is that there will be a peaceful transfer of power.
Trump calls today a big moment in history. And it's also the end of an era, the Obama era. A Democratic strategist says you can just smell it in the air, a deep sense of betrayal among Democrat voters, and an underlying realization that the Democratic Party's Politburo sold voters a bill of goods, the gaslighting of the public on Biden's decrepitude, the false idol of the Kamala Harris's campaign of joy, and the repeated cowering to the far left. Even Chuck Schumer says Democrats lost their mind.
We did some things wrong, and we have to look in the mirror and see what we did wrong. And then there's some things we didn't do that we should have done. One of the things we have to do is we must focus on the working families of America. We talked about the mechanics of the legislation and the details of the legislation, and we really didn't show the kind of empathy and concern to average, or show enough of it to average working families who didn't realize how much we had done and how much we care for them.
Chuck Schumer staged a photo op on Father's Day grilling burgers and dogs to show he's connected to average working families. Schumer got his one daughter a cushy job at Facebook, and his other daughter's a lobbyist for Amazon. And neither of them ate the hamburger because Chuck put a slice of cheese on the raw meat. He's still saying Bidenomics delivered for working families, but those stupid rubes don't know how good they have it. We just need a new sales pitch. Here's some advice. Stop trying to show you care about Americans and just care about them. James Carville, still in recovery.
It's very depressing. But if you're doing political strategy, if you have an airplane crash, you got to go back and find out what went wrong. There's a simple, basic rule of politics is voters want an election about them. They don't want an election about you or your opponent. And for too much, we lost that. I lost it myself. We made it about Trump, and we didn't make it about voters. And it's never a good idea. And how could I, at 80 years old, been doing this for 50 years, lapse into that level of stupidity? I got to ask myself. But I think we did. And, let's learn from this. It's a disaster.
I was off for 2 weeks on assignment, and I didn't think I'd come back to a new year and still have Democrats struggling over what went wrong. Same with Biden. After hiding from the press, he's now snapping at them.
The only thing, my being the oldest president, I know more world leaders than any one of you ever met in your whole goddamn life.
Dana made a great point on the 5. All these relationships Biden had with world leaders, what good did it do? He couldn't stop Russia from invading, Mexico from invading, or China from spying. And now he's just monkeying around.
You know what Jesse Helms talked about? Before he died, he said, I made a big mistake, Joe. I should have never said what I said. And by the way, I didn't get on with him at all. But know what he said? He said, I should have never said what I said about, all those folks just got out of trees not long ago like monkeys. He said, I was wrong about that. I want to take it all back. People can change, but you got to know them. You got to talk to them. Doesn't mean you'll do it, but things can change.
Biden just told that story to new members of Congress. The moral of the story is that old white racists can change? Why is he telling that story? We don't know, but he kept going.
By the time Strom Thurmond left the United States Senate, he had, I'm not making a case for him, but he had more African Americans on his staff than any United States senator had. More. Strom Thurmond had an illegitimate child with a black woman. Never denied it, never stopped paying for his upbringing. There's a lot of strange people, a lot of different people. I bet I could look at you and I could find some strange things too. No, but I'm really serious.
So my racist friend set the record for the amount of blacks he had working for him, and he got a black woman pregnant. And you have skeletons in your closet too. Welcome to Congress. Later, Biden sang happy birthday to some teenage activists and then forgot his name.
Guess what? Tomorrow is his birthday. We have a tradition in our household. Got to sing happy birthday. You ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you.
We've all done it. For the first time in a while, the big guy spent the weekend at the White House instead of hunkered down with Hunter in Delaware. And he was handing out presidential medals of freedom like candy canes. There he is. Magic Johnson got one. He deserved it. Hillary Clinton got hers, although she never once led the league in assists. And doesn't she look fantastic? Whatever she's doing is working. Biden even gave one to George Soros, a man who single-handedly financed an American crime spree. Soros the younger accepted it on his father's behalf, but Soros, the Democrats' biggest donor, got a presidential medal of freedom? That is tacky. Hunter was in the House. He was hoping for one, too, but all he got was a pardon. Biden promised he'd ensure a smooth transition for the next Trump administration. Oh, and then today he banned offshore oil and gas drilling. Here's Trump.
I see it just came over that Biden has banned all oil and gas drilling across 625 million acres of U.S. coastal territory. It's ridiculous. I'll unban it immediately. When I see somebody saying he's going to ban 625 million acres, he doesn't know what that is. He doesn't even know what 625 million acres would look like. And we can't let that happen to our country. It's really our greatest economic asset. And we're not going to let that happen to our country.
Biden knows Trump's just going to reverse it. He's just trying to eat up the clock. It's like when your son throwing your keys on the lawn before you take him to school. You're going to find the keys, but he's just being a pain. Biden's handing Trump a fiscal ticking time bomb, and it's threatening to blow up at any minute. A $2 trillion deficit that's freaking out the bond market. And Trump's coming in ready to rewire the last 4 years. Bidenomics is out. Trump's teeing up the AI economy, higher wages and productivity, and real demand, not fake demand for things no one likes, like electric cars, or migrant handouts, and whale-killing windmills. He's been at Mar-a-Lago dialed in, holding meetings with advisors, poring over charts of the McKinley-Teddy Roosevelt presidencies, analyzing the economic benefits of tariffs. That's according to the No Spin News. Trump's getting set to cram a year of promises into one day. The latest game plans to pack Trump's tax, energy, and border agenda into one big mega bill and get it past the House by late April.
Well, I favor one bill. I also want to get everything passed. And, there are some people that don't necessarily agree with it. So I'm open to that also. My preference is one big, as I say, one big, beautiful bill. Now, to do that takes longer. To submit it takes longer, actually. But so it's a longer process. To me, it just is cleaner. It's cleaner. It's nicer. Now, with that being said, we'd get some border work done a little bit earlier, et cetera, et cetera.
While I was out on assignment, Trump was working the phones, jawboning congressmen into keeping Mike Johnson as speaker. This is what he said. Quote, "It would be disrespectful to Americans who voted in a historic presidential election to have this speaker's vote go to a second or third ballot." Ending with, fellas, we have a lot to do. Let's get to it. And they voted in Mike Johnson with only one holdout, Congressman Massey from Kentucky. Trump's expecting no shenanigans over his nominations. The Senate Majority Leader, John Thune, privately told Trump that Hegseth already has the votes to be confirmed at the Pentagon. And next week, confirmation hearings, baby. We're told it could be Hegseth, Pam Bondi, Tulsi, Kash Patel, and maybe more, all lining the runway before inauguration, which is January 20th. Happens to be Martin Luther King Day. So everybody's going to have the day off. This means there's no excuse for this crowd to not be the biggest crowd in inauguration history. The second Trump term is strictly business. Trump's chief of staff, Susie Wiles, they call her the Ice Maiden, has no tolerance for troublemakers. She wants a no-drama zone at the White House. She's promising it won't be the same chaotic den of self-sabotaging that stymied the first term. She told staffers, "I don't welcome people who want to work solo or be a star. My team and I will not tolerate backbiting, second-guessing inappropriately, or drama. These are counterproductive to the mission." So Trump's nominated a bunch of Fox News hosts who aren't allowed to be stars. This should be fun. Young staffers are being told to get ready to work punishing hours. You know, the kind of hours that primetime staff work, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. This is a stark contrast to the Biden White House. There will not be lids called at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday. The incoming Trump administration wants no sand in the gears this time. That means from the inside or from the outside. The resistance for now has been broken. There's only a few dead enders like Judge Merchan here in New York, who's announced he's going to sentence Trump for the so-called hush money case this Friday. No jail time, he says. He just wants to get one last whack at the bad boy before he's sworn in. The resistance will regroup eventually, and they'll definitely throw more than a snowball. But this presidency is about to start with a bang. So get ready, and Happy New Year.
And welcome to Hannity and Happy New Year. It is a new year. A new administration is about to take the reins in D.C. in the swamp. And the good news is time to celebrate, but a lot of hard work ahead. Now, today on Capitol Hill, as part of her official duties, a very unhappy-looking Kamala Harris, well, she was forced to certify the results of the election she herself lost. Now, it's only a matter of days before Donald Trump gets sworn into office, not a moment too soon. Joe Biden has never been fit to serve as president. Every day he's getting worse and worse. Over the weekend, well, this is how the president answered a question about birthright citizenship. Take a look.
By the way, the actions we take, the only thing, my being the oldest president, I know more world leaders than any one of you ever met in your whole life. And I know them, and I know how they think. Not a joke.
And he forgot the words when he was singing Happy Birthday. This, a pathetic end to, frankly, the worst presidency in the modern era. Joe Biden did not accomplish any of his stated goals. He certainly did not unite the country. He didn't rebuild the economy from the middle out and the bottom up. He didn't improve your life, America's standing around the world. In his final months in office, Biden has been singularly focused on three things: granting clemency to criminals, including his own son, handing out awards to Democratic mega donors and radical leftists, Hollywood celebrities, some of the most loathed, self-serving politicians in America. Oh, let's see, Hillary Clinton, Liz Cheney, and then, of course, there's George Soros. And last and not least, whoever's running the show in the White House with Joe's approval has been up to their eyeballs and doing nothing but trying to sabotage the incoming Trump administration and his agenda at home and abroad. The Biden administration, they didn't lift a finger to secure the border or reduce crime or bring down inflation for nearly 4 years. The price of gasoline went up about $1.50 a gallon. They lied the entire time about all of this. And now these last-minute executive actions are all designed to undermine Donald Trump. And they're coming in hot and they're coming in fast. Now, new this week, with the stroke of a pen, Joe Biden just issued a total ban on most offshore drilling and exploration. Now, if you really step back and think about it, he knows Trump is drill, baby, drill. He's not hurting Trump as much as he's hurting you and the poor and the middle class and the cost of everything that's delivered to every store you go to. The cost of energy hurts the American people. It also prevents America and our ability to become what Donald Trump is certainly set out to do: make us an energy-dominant, rich country. Last week, he proposed another ban that's limiting energy development in Nevada for the next 20 years. Before getting blocked by a Texas court, Biden, petty, angry, bitter, well, he attempted to auction off border wall materials for next to nothing. Again, that would only force you to pay for a new border wall. He vindictively wants to sell off for pennies on the dollar, knowing that Donald Trump will need to spend more of your money because he's going to build the wall. He also streamlined illegal immigration with the release of a brand new app designed for those looking to abuse our immigration and border laws. And meanwhile, today, the president released 11 Gitmo detainees captured in the aftermath of 9/11, sent them back to the Middle East. And in Europe, Biden has escalated the war in Ukraine with Russia, giving Ukraine billions in new funding, including $2.5 billion since the election, along with weapons that can now strike deep within Russia. Now, Trump said that Biden is doing everything possible to make this transition difficult and is now vowing to reverse Joe's executive orders on day one. He will. But Trump does not have an easy job ahead of him. This brings us to some much-needed perspective. We said on our first show last year that this would be an inflection point for the country. And we did warn you what the Democrats would do. Could you imagine, by the way, if this first show of 2025, we were just a mere 2 weeks away from Kamala Harris being inaugurated? What would that be? That'd be a mandate for open borders. That would mean more terrorists, criminal cartels, gang members in the country, unvetted. That would be a continuation of defund, dismantle, no bail laws. That would mean higher taxes. That would mean higher energy prices. That would mean government mandates on cars and gas stoves and washers and dryers and your air conditioners. You'd have woke education for your kids, taxpayer-funded sex change operations, gender-affirming care without parental consent, and, of course, weakness on the world stage and endless war. But let me caution you, as I rightly predicted in the beginning of 2024, let me predict here, the left's plan to simply run on their hate Trump agenda didn't work. 2025's outcome is not certain. Like 2024, this time a year ago, the outcome of the election was not certain. Many of you watching tonight, frankly, you saved our country from the radical left. This was the biggest choice inflection point election in our lifetime. All of you delivered. The work is far from over. Trump is going to need your help. He has a slim majority in Congress, and we've got to urge unity on Capitol Hill, and that unity needs to be around Donald Trump's MAGA agenda. He ran hard, he made promises, and he won. And he helped a lot of these people across the finish line. At one point, it was predicted, an 80% chance Democrats would gain control of Congress. Remember what Reagan said. A person that agrees with you 80% of the time is not your enemy. Trump, with the small majority in Congress, there are things he cannot do on his own that got to be done, especially if we are to return to constitutional order, if we believe in limited government and greater freedom. If you want to secure the border, deport illegal immigrants, especially criminal illegal immigrants, if you want to re-energize the economy, if you literally want to reignite America's energy dominance and make us the most energy-rich country on the face of the earth, restore law and order, restore America's military might, peace through strength, bring accountability to the deep state and the DOJ, a weaponized FBI, weaponized intelligence community. If you want to make DOJ a reality and cut $2 trillion from spending and prepare this country for the next generation of warfare, because we've got to face a reality. Future wars will not be fought on a battlefield. They're going to be fought in air-conditioned offices, bunch of guys pushing buttons. China, Russia right now, they have hypersonic missile technology that we do not have. We need to match, we need to surpass their capabilities, and that needs to be done immediately. And by the way, I kind of like the idea, maybe you'll join me, of Greenland, Canada, joining the U.S. I think we should invite them in. And by the way, without the U.S., the Panama Canal would not exist. Yeah, I think we, not China, should be controlling it. The threats against our homeland, Donald Trump himself, well, they've never been greater. We better pay very close attention. The Trump campaign was hacked by China and Iran. There were 2 assassination attempts against his life. There are Iranian hit squads plotting violence against elected and appointed officials in our country. We have terrorists, murderers, rapists, gang members, dangerous cartels pouring across the southern border and now operating inside our country. We need to find them. We need to deport them. These next 4 years will be critical for the future of our republic. Will we have a government by, of, and for the people? And will the American dream once again be a reality for every American who seek it out? Do we want limited government? Do you believe in the concept of greater freedom? Well, this is America's chance. A tall order for sure, but if there's one thing we've learned over the past 8 years, never doubt the will, the determination of Donald Trump. And probably he'll need your help. And we'll probably give out the phone number to Congress a time or two.
So happy Jan 6th, or as I like to call it, Jan-teenth. Let's see how the media is covering it.
Since the January 6th attack on the US Capitol, when supporters of Donald Trump stormed this building, trying to prevent the election victory of Joe Biden from being certified. On the anniversary. Oh my God. Oh God, Sam. Oh.
Apparently, even Mother Nature is MAGA. All right. So I'm back, and true, I had a baby. I was out for a month, and I have the chewed up nipples to prove it. Eat your heart out, Mayor Pete. Guess that makes me qualified to run the Department of Transportation.
Sure does.
Speaking of trans, any man who thinks putting on a dress and a wig makes you a woman, no way. I was there when that baby popped out, and no dude can do that. You might as well put on a diaper and claim you're a baby or a president. But there are few things worse than someone in the media having a child. And not just because you have to imagine them having sex, but they act like they're the first person to do it, like they just invented having children. It's funny. A lot of new parents just years ago were telling you that having kids was selfish. How dare you bring another mouth to feed among the starving billions? Then they have kids, and suddenly their precious brat is the exception. They went from hating kids to having one that they can't wait to transition. It amazes me more that some moms can be so pro-abortion. It's like being a biological Benedict Arnold, because these moms know that having kids is the best thing they're ever gonna do, aside from ironing.
A sexist would say.
But rather than endure sneers by their fellow diaper deniers for indulging the patriarchy, they cheer women to abort the one thing that gives them meaning in life, besides watching this show, of course. So what's the male equivalent? Well, imagine a guy winning a Bronze Star and saying, it's not worth it. Sorry, that's the only thing he's going to remember on his deathbed. Well, that and the orgy with the cast of The Facts of Life. Charlotte Rae really knew how to party.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, I'm comparing motherhood to war, because it is. Women put in a 9-month tour of duty, and at the end are so full of hormones and exhaustion, it makes PTSD look like athlete's foot. And for that reason, we should treat moms like conquering heroes. But the message from most libs, don't have kids. But if we do, it's because our kids will be better than yours. Because in the media, we act like everything we do is of bigger importance. But do you think my Uncle Frank, a plumber, got to take a month off every time his wife pushed one out? Please, this guy had a plunger back in his hand 3 minutes after they cut the umbilical cord. Come to think of it, I think he brought the plunger to the birth. Just in case. So I won't brag. 7 billion people have gone through this. But if you're shocked by me having a brat at 60, imagine how I feel. When my wife told me she was pregnant, mine was the first diaper she had to change. It's not easy, but it's not earth-shattering either. The lesson I've learned is how much I gotta unlearn. Meaning throughout my life, I've mastered the art of being selfish, and it's helped my career. But a great career isn't hard when you're only about you, although there are exceptions. But if you work single-mindedly for 10 years, you can master any profession, except maybe porn, because in 5 years, you've already aged out. Ask Trace Gallagher. He may be a silver fox, but you're done once the carpet matches the drapes. So becoming a parent at my age is forcing me to learn things many of you learned in your 20s, 30s, and 40s, that you have to think about someone else. And for me, that's tough. My entire home has changed. Now there's someone else sleeping in the bassinet. But a wise person told me this: once you have a kid, you can't regret anything you did before that, because to change the past would erase the possibility of that child. And maybe why Alec Baldwin keeps having kids. It's awesome. Suddenly I have no regrets after 60 years of bad behavior. So my message to you, men and women, if you feel regret over your past, have a kid. Yeah. It's easy. Almost anyone can do it. And really, kids practically take care of themselves. Right now, mine's sitting in the car, double parked outside. And don't worry, I roll down the windows.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.